On our agenda is approval of our minutes from September 13. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or changes or complaints? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I understand P1 is off our agenda for the entire evening. Is that correct, Alderman Wilson?
Yes, I'd like to hold that to the next meeting.
Till our next meeting. Okay, not for the council meeting, but for our next
The next
planning and
meeting.
development meeting.
Correct.
Okay. And that's at the request of the applicant, is that correct?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
correct.
So, next item, P2 is Ordinance 70-010, which is a request from an alderman to require notice to affected neighbors of proposed cellular antenna installations.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? The only comment I would make on this is in reading the documentation to this, the requirement is that the city notify the affected neighbors. And I would suggest that we substitute that the applicant who's to appear before Spark be required to notify the neighbors and then provide the council, the
Is that a
committee, the
motion,
staff.
Alderman Rainey?
Yes, it is.
Second.
All right, we don't need any more expenses. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll just get a clean copy of the ordinance at our next meeting. We'll just introduce this for tonight. Okay, items for discussion. There is an item here called Parking Requirements for Home Occupations. My name is associated with it, and I have absolutely nothing to do with this at all. So is there any discussion? This is a request of staff.
Well, my name is associated with it, and I do have.
You do? Okay, well, so I just don't want to take any credit for this because I have nothing to do with it. Alderman Holmes, would you like to share your thoughts with us?
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but in my ward, there are businesses that really have caused lots of problems with parking in the neighborhood where either their employees or their clients will come and take up parking spaces from the neighbors. I've gotten lots of complaints, and we've been talking about this just about a year, in terms of how we can deal with it as a city. Most of them are, a lot of them are landscapers whose workers will come and they leave from the owner's house, and their cars are left in the neighborhood and park all day. I'll stay from 7:30 in the morning sometimes until, in the summer it can be as late as 8 o'clock or even later in the evening. So that's been the problem for my ward anyway, and we're looking for a solution.
All right, well then, I misunderstood this. When I think of a home occupation, I think of, someone who is like an editor or,
Well, there are other. We had an incident of I don't know. I don't see Mr. Dunk. Oh, there he is. We had an incident of an attorney and doing tax time. Then there would be 4 or 5 clients, as well as I think she had 2 attorneys. So then you would have
From home?
in her house.
In her house.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking. Yes.
And that, yeah. And so, that was just one incident, but so I have lots of examples. I use the landscaper because it's the easiest one, but there are other businesses as well that operate out of homes that have employees or clients that, are taking up parking spaces. And since they're not required to have a license, then the city really doesn't even know that they are there until I guess it's brought to their attention. And mine have been brought to the attention via residents' complaints.
Anybody else?
I don't have
So
those
would
issues,
you
but-
suggest we send this back to staff to come back with some ideas? I mean, it didn't seem that they were really embracing this in the memo that we received, but
I don't know if they're embracing it or not, but I've talked to Mr. Voss, Ricky and I have talked about it quite a number of times, as well as it's a zoning issue, I believe,
Zoning and parking.
and parking.
But it
So-
is zoning, too. I mean, yeah.
Okay. So I don't care who takes care of it as long as it gets taken care of. So if we want to send it back to staff, then that's fine. But let's send it back to staff that's going to come up with a solution
Alderman Nguyen?
or suggestion for a
Well,
solution.
I was going to say, Alderman Holmes, we'd be happy to hear it at parking, but I do agree with you. I think there are zoning aspects of it, too, that need to be addressed. So
Should we refer this to the zoning committee of the Plan Commission? Because they're
Yeah.
looking at all sorts of things right now because they don't have a heavy
Right.
docket.
Yeah.
But before we do, I hear what you're saying, Alderman Holmes, and the examples you gave about a landscaper having his workers assembled at his home and just, parking all over the place is one thing. During tax season, having somebody, totally absorb parking in the neighborhood. Those are issues that should be addressed. But I'm just trying to think whether or not this is, something that's specific to some specific addresses that we can just go ahead and try to get some specific restrictions as opposed to a general restriction that says that if you have a home business, then you're limited to 3 customers coming to your home. It depends on where you parked.
Wait.
It depends on where you're located. Because you could have some neighborhoods that was open parking. Others are very restricted, like, neighborhoods where you have condos. It's difficult to find any parking at all. So I would like to see Mr. Voss give us some kind of sense as to what he's observed throughout the city before we raise it to a level of zoning restrictions.
Well, Alderman Jean-Baptiste, the reason why I mentioned zoning is because I have lots of examples I could give you. We have another one that we had on Foster Street where a home business was operating, and they had built in, Mr. Dunkley, I might need your help on this, but they had built a whole enclosure around. No permits, no anything from the city. And of course, it also affected the parking, but they were parking all kinds of vehicles and things in the back without even applying for a permit or finding out if they could even operate that business out of that home. Large machine making all kind of noises. So, I mean, it's not, and it may be just in the Fifth Ward that people are doing this. I don't know if it is then, but I have more than 3 examples, and which the city is much aware of.
Well, in that case, we already have zoning that would cover that. I mean, we know that you can't operate heavy business.
Well.
We know that. I mean, if it's an art district, we know that. But that's not to say that other businesses aren't popping up. Just
no.
today, I had a complaint about a new owner of a property, a residential property, who is a junker, who has the junk trucks, and now they're using, putting their inventory in all the garages. And, I mean, that's getting to
Those
be
too.
a
Right.
big issue.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe there are specific cases that are so, that are not unique, that we need really to form some kind of guidelines for them. And
True.
I don't see, I don't see that just asking the zoning committee and the parking committee to look at this means we're going to have some very restrictive legislation that's going to, affect all home businesses. I mean, we just don't have complaints about our home businesses unless they cross the line.
Well, if you remember, if you read in the information that the staff had given, they talked about the businesses that are required to have permits, and they would know guidelines. But those that are smaller and don't have the guidelines, and they may grow toward that capacity, and the city would still never know. Right. And so somewhere there is a gap that we need to figure out how to
Right.
fix for them
Right.
as well as for us. But I'm concerned about the residents who call, who
Right.
are impacted by this.
Sure.
You're right. I mean, because we have home daycare businesses that
Absolutely.
cause that kind of
Yeah.
problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so would you mind if they at least take a look at this? Maybe they will see things that we're not seeing because they don't have, another meeting. Yes. Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, Alderman Rainey, I do think that Mr. Lyons has a good suggestion of sending it to the zoning committee of the Plan Commission. They are looking at exactly this type of,
Alderman Rainey thought that was her suggestion.
oh, I'm sorry, was it your
But we
suggestion,
look
Alderman Rainey?
alike, so.
Okay. All right, well, I probably have my reading glasses on, so.
That's all right. The point
So
is-
I think that that's a very good spot for this, because the parking committee does not have it does not understand this or have working knowledge of the zoning issues. So I suggest we send it there.
And then if they feel that it belongs to you, we'll get it there. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
All right, so if the zoning people could let Alderman Holmes and the rest of us know when it will be discussed on their agenda, that would be good. Just one other comment before we adjourn, and that is the ordinance regarding 910 Hinman will be for action on the council agenda later this evening. Okay, anything
Thank
else?
you.
Adjournment?
Second?
All right, all those in
Another 10
favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Another 10 minutes or 15?
No,
Can you get your
it's
emails?
supposed to be 20.
I can't
but we
get
have-
on. I can't get on the city's wireless.
Hold on, let me see something.
We did speed it up, but we need a break.
It's showing, but it's not showing that little thing. It's in the same position as mine.
Yeah.
So,
I do VPN. You can't get on either?
Alderman, is this your coffee?
no, I'm not online. I didn't try. This is, I had downloaded this and copied it. No, but you say you use this
I
thing
use
here?
VPN. No.
VPN? Why don't you try
And
this?
it wouldn't pick it up.
Why don't you try this? If it's,
Well, I can get the city's website. I can't get my own email. Sure.
yeah, but you could probably, if let me see, update cannot be installed, please make sure, blah, blah, blah.
No, see, I wanted to see if I can get on the city's website. So
I don't even get to the, I just go straight to the general internet and then put in the city's stuff on there.
oh, and then you use
Yeah.
webmail?
Here it is. And then I just go cityevanston.org and then I go to the packet.
Right. No, that's what I've done here.
Okay.
But see, what I'm wondering is if